Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you. All right. So our audience is still with us. There's interested in knowing about continuous process improvement. And the reason we invited Brian to share what he's done is because him and his team over at Hydro Aluminum Extrusion did an amazing job on their Lean Six Sigma Greenbelt project and multiple projects. And so we're going to have Brian share his with you. Let me pull up the slides here and then I'll show you what Brian worked on. So
Hey, Cedro, you want to go ahead and let me share my screen, and I have the
sure.
greatest.
Yeah, if you want to drive, that's great. Let's do that. We can go ahead and have you share your screen. Okay, yep, we can see your screen.
Okay. So we're at Liberty Safe, not Hydro, by the way.
Oh yeah, Liberty Safe.
That's okay. Well,
Oh, I've got Hydro coming up next. So I'm so sorry. Yes,
that's okay.
I'm
So
bouncing from one group to the next. I apologize.
that's okay. So our company's been around since 1988. We started in a storage unit, building 3 safes a day, 1 to 3 safes a day. Now we're in a 330,000 foot facility that we produce almost 700 or better a day. So quite a bit of improvement over the last 33 years. I've been here 25 of that. And this particular process we're talking about, this delivery time for our customers, I've actually actively been working on this project for probably 20 years. And I look back 20 years ago and what it took for us to produce a warranty item for a customer would take me all day to produce what I needed to get those items produced for the floor. This morning when I came into work, I sat down and did the week's warranty report, half hour. So it's come light years from where it was before. And probably definitely want to note here that it is still a continuous improvement project. It is not perfect yet. We still have outliers. We still have some challenges, but going through this process, we've learned where those outliers are coming from and how to address them, and we've been working on them. So see,
Yeah, and that's what's impressive about you. Like you said, it's been a 20-year project, and that really means that for 20 years you've been doing continuous process improvement, finding a better way every chance you can to take care of your warranty delivery time. So that's impressive, and the fact that you guys keep at it and are never happy with the current state, always looking for a better way. That's a testament to your philosophy of continuous improvement and your culture there at Liberty Safe. That's awesome.
Right. And I mean, our warranty is probably one of the best in our industry. And that's why it's so important for me to help drive this process. So I already talked about the define process.
You want to push the slide presentation mode on there, and then it'll go full screen for us. Just down at the bottom.
Sorry, where is that at?
I don't know. We're seeing the, you have multiple screens going. We're seeing just the version that has the slides over on the left still, not the full screen version.
I'm not sure I know how to do that. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, drag your mouse to the bottom right of your screen, and there's a, next to the slider that zooms in and out, there's an icon just to the left of that slider on the very bottom right of your PowerPoint screen. And yeah, keep going left. That icon, just keep going right. One more right there.
Okay.
Hey, there you go. Perfect.
Sorry, the Zoom thing is still not
I know
for me.
You got to bounce between Zoom and PowerPoint. Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? So no, we can see it and everything looks good. We see you and your slides, which is great.
Okay. So we talked about the define process. When we really looked at this, we understood that our customers were not happy with our delivery time. If you called an order apart, we were telling our customers 3 to 4 weeks before they could actually receive a part. We said, what does our customer really want? And they resoundingly said a week to week and a half is what they kind of expected from us. And so that's kind of where we set our goal is based on what we knew. We were about 17 days in our current state, and we wanted to drop that down to about 11. And one of the challenges is a year ago, we actually changed fabric, uh, fabric colors, and everything that we had set up in we have a Kanban system for about 40% of the parts that we ship UPS or for the warranty parts. And 95% of those parts were the old fabric color. So we knew at some point we were going to have to switch that over to the new fabric color and roll with that. So essentially that's set up to do about 40%. The Kanban was set up to do about 40% of our volume in warranty to come out of that Kanban. Our goal is to take it from 21%, which we were currently at January through May, and bring that up to about 35 to 40%. Team photo, kind of an interesting looking group of guys. I'm sure Donna, who we actually photoshopped in there at the end, didn't want to have any part of taking a
Didn't
team.
want to be associated with you guys. Is that what was
No.
happening there? Okay.
And the one thing I'd call out here is, and we talked about it in the last session, is picking a team that's cross-functioning is really important. I mean, I've got folks on this team, and I wish there probably would have been a representative from sales on this team, but really our customer service manager was on our team, and he helped drive that side of our project. But then I had actually our machine shop manager was actually on our team. He has nothing at all to do with this process, but he was on our team and actually added quite a bit to our success of being able to look at it through eyes that weren't involved with the process. So I guess that's pretty clear to me, as we want to, when you set up a team, get multiple inputs and opinions.
Yeah, I think that's what Cameron just said as well at Dynapack.
Right.
He said, having a broad range of stakeholders and people involved in the project gets everybody to be involved, have a different perspective, and you make sure you don't leave any rocks unturned, right? Somebody that could be affected by the project that you didn't think about. You're just way more effective that way.
Yeah. So there's our stakeholder analysis. I'm not going to go through that.
Yeah.
Risks here is basically the same thing. Just it's a common theme. Finding the time to do it, and finding time and access to IT to help us change some of the things that we need to change in our project, and then actually getting buy-in from those stakeholders as to why we want to improve this process. So that was kind of some of the risks that we had. And really the leading lagging indicators, we knew in November that we were going to have to make a change to this Kanban. And we knew at some point that was going to have to happen. And with doing this green belt training, helped push us there quicker, which was fine. So measure phase. Here's our pretty ugly, not really thrown together, but our process map. And there's a lot of stuff on that process.
I don't think that's ugly at all. In fact, I think that's a thing of beauty right there. That shows that you really dug in and tried to understand how your process actually works.
I mean, when you look at this, I'm the programmer in that part, and it's kind of right there in the middle. And there's not a whole lot in this whole process. When you look at the entire process from receiving an order to shipping it out of our building, that really, it opened my eyes, even though I kind of own the process, to, oh, wow, there's so much more that we're missing here. So, but that's our value stream map. Here's the data from that value stream map. Kind of interesting. This whole process, as it was taking about 409 hours, and of the value added, there was only 4.5 hours of value added time. And so 1.1%. And most of that is waiting time, waiting for IT to get the information to me to program it, me waiting to program it, and then for production, waiting to actually produce the parts. And then there was even some waiting time in the shipping area. waiting to get those, those items out. Kind of a little spaghetti diagram of where the process was. I like
that spaghetti diagram was awesome there. Go back there. So yeah, you got what's the green and the versus the blue there? Hold on. Green line.
So the green is anything that I do to get the information out to production and to produce the parts. So all those particular areas are different areas that produce parts that we would then ship out to a customer.
Yeah.
The blue lines are basically the opposite of those production, bringing those items back to stores to ship those out.
I like your value added time ratio there. So there's your 4.5 hours. So you have lots of opportunity. That's it's good and bad, right? It's bad because you're like, oh man, this is taking us a lot more work than it should, but it's good because you're like, oh, I bet we can improve this significantly.
Right. So I like to look at the people that drive this process. We have customer service receiving a call, or entering the order, and then into accounting where they're actually entering the information. Then that goes to an open order report that I then pull in and program that we send to the line for production. Then actually finishing that product, and then into shipping to stores to send that product out. This is that ugly one that we were seeing, where we saw the decline. Way back in January, we had a week that we were 61% of our product coming out of Kanban for our warranty.
So for people that don't know what Kanban is, pause for a second and explain what do you mean on Kanban? What is this chart really telling us?
So Kanban is essentially a Japanese word for signaling work. So essentially, and I have a slide later in the presentation and actually a video showing the Kanban area.
Okay, cool.
But essentially, it's a store of items that are ready to ship. And essentially, when shipping gets an order, they can grab from that store, that Kanban, and directly ship it to the customer without going through this entire process. When that reaches a certain order point, there's an order card there. They pull that out, and that goes to production, and they basically refill the Kanban or the store area.
And that store location triggers production to build and replenish.
Correct. So you can see, in April and May, we were down in that 11% range. So definitely a huge decrease. This is just a chart of what items were causing our biggest delays. And by looking, if you look across this line here, when you look at some of these high hitters, number 2 on this list is actually a Kanban part. And we'll address that in a minute, but well, let's address it now. The reason that was so high and such an outlier is we actually found when we went to the Gemba that we had customer service and sales putting orders in on orders that were 180 days late already. So essentially, if they put an order in today, but they actually placed for that item and placed it on a shipment that was in February or March, it's already 180 days late, even though the order went in today. Because our defined process of days delayed is when the order was entered, and that is the sales order is entered until it actually ships out of the building. So right there, I mean, that's what we identified as one of our biggest causes, and we still have that challenge today. We have reduced it, but not to, it's not 100% solved yet. The other reason causing these outliers is we actually found some of our naming convention in our software were incorrect. That would never, so if they entered an older item that had a different naming convention than like a 5-digit part number, they actually wouldn't even come into my report. And
Did you have to go back and fix all of your old part numbers to bring them up to speed with the new system? Is that what happened?
We did, yeah. We found almost 1,700 of those in our system that had to be updated, and luckily IT was able to fix those fairly quickly once we identified them. So that one should be completely addressed and fixed.
Nice. Good to have an IT department that's responsive and says,
Yeah.
yeah, I can help you with that. Right. We see that a lot where people are like, I need IT help and they're just too busy. So that's good.
So here's our Pareto chart to the items causing the delays. Very similar to that last one I showed, a little bit more detail. This is actually a little bit more breakdown of that detail, showing, oddly enough, the red ones are in both Kanbans, the old Kanban and the new Kanban, green being in the future Kanban, and blue would be in both, or in the current Kanban, sorry. Here's our funky fishbone diagram. We, as a team, like this fishbone diagram better than the 5 whys, at least on this project.
Yep.
It just helped us identify the problems better than the 5 whys, because we had so many issues and the process was so big that we were looking at.
Yeah, and that's a really good reason to use the fishbone diagrams. It really does help you when you have, because most people, when you have a problem, you realize that the root cause could be from multiple areas. There isn't usually just one silver bullet that solves all your problems. So this fishbone really does help you say, okay, to solve this problem, we need to look at the machine, the operators, the method that we're using, the materials. It really does help you focus on everything. So yeah, I share your sentiment there that fishbones are a great place to start when doing root cause analysis.
Within a process capability of our original process, you can see those outliers out there at 161, 168 days. But really, we defined our process capability. We wanted to make sure we were under 14 days, and really only 44% of the time we were under that with the data we had. Future state, value stream, it's the same diagram. Nothing really changed as far as the flow, but the hours changed, and actually bumped that value added time. Looks like that slide is incorrect. It's actually not 4.5. Oh, it is still 4.5, but because the input hours changed, our efficiency went up by 1%. Our improvement plan, basically, by discussing with the team, we said, hey, there's some low-hanging fruit. First, we're going to actually do a warranty report. Instead of doing it once a week, we're going to do it twice a week. Okay, perfect. How are we going to get that fit in? We had to get buy-in from our production manager to do that, and he was on board. And that was probably one of the biggest wins in this whole project, was getting the production manager on board with supporting our end customer.
Well, I'm thinking of how much wait time that saves your end customer to get their order in. The worst case scenario, they get it in the day after the production schedule is set, and they have to wait a whole nother week, and now they don't. So that, yeah, I imagine that had a big impact. And that's just eliminating batching, right? When you think of like only placing production schedule orders once a week, right? That's batching everything up. And what you guys did was cut your batch size and time in half, which is really cool.
And then the other big item is we had a sign-off sheet that went to the floor when production made the part, and then actually went into stores with it, that they would say, okay, yes, we made this part. Yes, we delivered it to you. We simply eliminated that step. So eliminated me having to make that sign-off sheet, and eliminated production and stores from having to fill that out. So that we just eliminated that. The next step was actually to do the 5S on the Kanban storage area. Then obviously we had to update the parts list, and then we still are working on this one, and that is actually implementing queues, that if customer service inputs a sales order and they haven't firmed the sales order within a certain amount of time, it flags them so that they can go back in and refirm the item. Because it doesn't, if it gets placed and then firmed before it goes to accounting for approval. And if that firming never happens, it can never go to accounting. And I never comes to my report until accounting approves it. Then the big one is just an ordering process for the Kanban. It's still pretty much manual right now. They have to, stores, when that Kanban card executes, it has to come to me. I have to make stickers for all those items to then go to production. We're going to try to automate that a little bit So they have an automated screen in the stores area. They simply say, hey, I need UPS 1. They order it. It sends it directly to the routers, prints the labels, the stickers for the parts, and basically eliminating the step of me having to make those parts or those labels.
Very nice.
This is the big one. This is we actually went back and eliminated anything that was over 60 days. So all the outliers that were 60 days or older, and said, okay, what were the results? So we were averaging 14 days before the project, and now 6.5 days.
That's huge, Brian. That is a massive improvement.
And then you even see a change in the standard deviation. So that's kind of shifting both the mean and the standard deviation both shifted in this project.
Yeah. For those of you who don't speak statistics, that means that the average time to process an order was 14 days, but standard deviations like your plus or minus, it could be, 13 days, 12.8 days longer than that or shorter, right? So just a ton of variation. So getting rid of that variation is it's a big factor in improving customer satisfaction, because not one day you're placing an order and getting it quickly, and the next day it's really long. You're like, what the heck's going on? Consistency matters. And so the fact that you did drive down your variation is amazing.
Yeah. Here's our control chart. We still have a couple out of control after the Kaizen event, and we kind of understand what those are. So we're still working on it, still continuously improving. We already saw this chart. 44% was in, we were capable prior, 58% after the project. And I suspect if we could eliminate that big outlier that's way out on this right
yeah
side, that would be much better.
We should rerun this chart without that outlier, and I bet you're probably closer to 80% or something in there. So
right.
Yep.
So much better. This is the Kanban area. So the picture on the left is before, the picture on the right is after. And then I have a video to show you.
This is a short video of our 5S project. So you can see from these pictures that we have updated to the new fabric. We stripped off the shells, repainted them, added a card with a barcode, with the part number, and a picture, diagram, the part that goes in that location. Done that on all of them. 3 rows. We've added a Kanban card at a Kanban min-max level. So this one happens to be 4. So the Kanban card, when we hit this number, it'll pull this card and read that. Same over here, this one we determined is 5, and this one is actually a little bit higher, more like 6. The other part we've done in this area is we've actually come on a this card right here, showing what the entire area should look like.
So
very cool, very organized, nice Kanban cards, right? When people need them, pull them, place a new order. It looks great.
So the reason we added barcodes is because our shipping department is actually going to a scan and pull process. It's not implemented yet, but essentially the Kanban is one step ahead, ready to go for them. We saw the top left-hand chart before, the average before, and then this is the average like 7 data points after. But we still continue to track that. And if you look at the bottom, that's as of yesterday. Anything in green is our after the Kaizen event, after we updated the Kanban. Nice note is the last 4 weeks we're averaging 71% coming out of the Kanban. Huge improvement for us. Makes us so we can satisfy our customer. We talked about the implementation. Really the hardest thing about finding finding a value in the project was trying to decide how to assign value to customer service. And we ended up using essentially an overhead rate and calculated that in to get our project savings. This is probably the best.
There, this 5S training belt project that we've been working on, what impact has it had on you?
The biggest impact it's had on me is, well, again, walking through and getting a team together, getting everybody involved, from the production side. History has shown that they haven't taken as serious as they are now, and it's kind of brought them closer as a team to accomplished goals.
And do you think we've made an improvement?
Absolutely, yeah. Everybody's more proactive, more engaged, and just trying to accomplish what we ask of them.
So
Yeah,
that,
so what I heard was the team's working better together, and then they're more engaged, and then the customers are getting their parts on time or when the customers expect it. So that seems like a pretty big impact.
yeah, it's a huge impact. And like I said before, Darren he's our production manager. He was probably one of the biggest obstacles prior to going through this process. And it's a huge change, especially on my side, and being able to say, okay, we need to send this out to the floor and get it done. And it pretty much happens. It's not a fight to find time to run 1 or 5 programs to satisfy the customer. Here's our control plan. The biggest one on this one is the quarterly, is actually reviewing the Kanban and making sure that the correct parts are still in the Kanban. And we know that there are parts in our Kanban currently that do not need to be there and some that need to be added. We've identified that. We just have not made that next Kaizen event to implement it, but it's coming. So project benefit, 72K, 71K. So
Nice job. Yeah, what's impressive, you and Cameron both, saving $70,000-$80,000 a year through these projects. And I know we're out of time, but how long did it take you to get the team together and make these changes, make this improvement?
well, we had just over 200 hours invested in the project, but really it didn't take long to get us together and get us going on it. We just said, hey, we're going to do it. Let's go.
Did you have to shut down production at all, or were you able to do this in the background and keep things running?
We did everything in the background. We didn't shut production down at all.
Cool.
So we, Jared and I actually did the 5S project on our own on a Friday when production was not here. We actually brought production in to recut the parts in the new fabric color. So we did have a little bit of investment from them, but it was on and off shift essentially.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for sharing your continuous improvement project with us. And thank you for participating in the Lean Six Sigma Greenbelt training. You guys are awesome and a great example of what having a culture of continuous improvement is. I know everybody down at Liberty Safe is working on continuous improvement, and you guys have a lot more projects than just this one to showcase. So we look forward to seeing your next ones and having you back again.
Right, great. And I was glad to present.
Thank you. All right, everyone on the call still, jump over to track A. We're going to have lunch and then do some awards, including awards for the best continuous improvement project here. And then at 12:30, in a short half hour, we're going to hear from Scott Henry, who was the winner of season 2 episode of Tough as Nails, the reality show. So if you want to hear Scott talk, he's going to talk about being a servant leader and some of his experience there, which is going to be great. So we'll see you over in track A. Just go to the umaweb.org website and click over to track A on the conference landing page there. Thanks again, Brian.
Yep.